Hey, it's me, Vicky Marie, and good morning, good afternoon, or good evening, wherever you are in this crazy world we're living in. So, sorry, another impromptu live, where it's like with the lives, I just suddenly get some time, something to say, and I just come on, and I hope you'll find me on here, I'm sure, as I go on with this video. Now, uh, what I want to talk about today, is a case that we followed. It was an unsolved case. When I was doing I did 3 British cases that were unsolved. And Nicola Payne, this girl up in the top left-hand corner. See if I can put a bigger picture of her up. This is Nicola Payne, and she disappeared. She was only 18 years old, a young mother. Disappeared, I think it's 40 years now, or it will be. It either is or will be very soon. And during this time, there's been all sorts of has happened in this case, and we're going to look at that as we go along. Because what I've decided I'm going to do, the reason that I'm doing this video about Nicola, again, the thing is, there's so many cases, isn't there? So many cases, and all the time there are new cases coming up, and it's easy to forget. But of course, for the friends and families of these people whose loved ones go missing, especially the ones that get no resolution whatsoever, because Nicola's remains, she's been presumed obviously to be deceased by now, but her remains have never been found. People have been tried for a murder, but they've been found not guilty, etc. So for those families and friends, these things are never over. They never forget them. Doesn't matter if it's 10 years, 20 years, 30 years, 40 years, 50 years. Their families and friends live with this until their dying breath, don't they? Until their dying breath. And her mum, Maz, did die, I think it was last year or the year before. And for this reason, the reason I'm doing this video, talking about Nicola after all this time, is because of I was very sad to see, but I understand, of course, but it's quite sad to see that on the Find Nicola Payne Facebook page that I've been following, but there just hasn't been any news. I've been following this page for a few months now, and I think this is the first post, apart from posts that sometimes they put up about other missing people, which is nice that they use their forum because they've got a lot of followers, and quite often they use their forum to highlight other missing people, which is nice. But they've yesterday they put on this post. It's really quite emotional, I think. Nicola's family would like to thank everyone that has supported us through this page. It never fails to amaze us the strength that it provides us in this never-ending journey. Let me just make sure you can still see that, yeah. Since the passing of Nicola's beloved mum, Maz, in 2023, we have suffered immensely as a family. However, we know that they are now finally reunited, and this does bring us some comfort. We have decided for many reasons that as of the 9th of January 25, so, just after New Year, which is Nicola's birthday, we will close this page permanently. Therefore, if anyone wishes to contact the family, they can do so until that date. If not, then please contact Crime Stoppers or West Midlands Police. This case remains open. So that's encouraging that the case will always be open, probably, until it's not, if you like. If anything comes up, the people that are thought to have done this to have done something to Nicola, they're, quite older now. Obviously, they won't live forever. Maybe they'll find something in them, to some Christian charity in them. eventually to say what's happened to Nicola and where she is. And as they say here, the family say on this, we live in quiet hope that one day we will find Nicola's remains and lay her to rest in eternal peace. Thank you for never forgetting our beautiful Cov kid. I'm not sure what the Cov means, but our beautiful Cov kid, Nikki. The Payne family. Kiss. So it's like, I was so emotional when I read it, because that's taken a lot of thought, a lot of consideration for them to decide. It's almost like they're deciding on their own closure. So they lost their mum, and I suppose they'll be living in that eternal hope, and I believe that she will be with her mum. And a mum will now know, they'll be together. I certainly hope they'll be together. Now, what that poor mother had to go through, and what Nicola's son has had to go through, because Nicola had a baby when she disappeared. Will the truth ever be established? Well, in a way it doesn't matter, because I did leave a comment, and to me, I think even though these people may have escaped justice in this world, they will not have escaped it in the next. I firmly believe that. Anyway, unfortunately, justice doesn't always happen when we want it to, and so that we can see it. So what I decided I was going to do because of that, because it's been a couple of months since I made the video about Nicola, I'm going to play the video that I made about Nicola here, and we can watch it together. I'm here if you want to chat about it. I am here to chat. Hopefully you will. And yeah, so let's watch the video. So this is a video that I made about 3 months ago. Nicola Payne Into the Mist, unsolved. And I feel like, please, 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 if anyone is watching this and knows anything that may just I think it was the father who said, well, we'll see in this video, we just want to bury her. We don't care. Or it may have been a brother, actually. We don't care about you going to prison or any of that. We just want to know where she is, and we want to bring her home and bury her. Lay her to rest in a decent way. I think most people, after 40 years of not knowing what's happened to their loved ones, would probably say the same. It's not about justice in the end. Just bring her back. Just let us lay her to rest. So I'm going to play the video. But as I say, I'm here. If you want to chat, please go ahead. And I want to say hello to anyone who's watching at the moment, anyone who's watching on Catch Up. Thank you so much for watching. Hey, it's me, Vicky Marie. And good morning, good afternoon, or good evening, wherever you are in this crazy world we find ourselves living in. So I talk about true crime, amongst other things. Please subscribe and hit notifications to see videos like this one every couple of days. Oh, and don't forget to leave your fingerprint on the like button. So lately, I've been talking about some unsolved crimes, and the recent arrest of a suspect in Rome for the notorious Australian Easy Street murders way back in 1977 has shown us that it's never too late to hope for justice, is it? So let's have a look at these victims and the alleged perpetrator who's just been arrested. So this is Suzanne Armstrong and Susan Bartlett, who were brutally murdered in their Easy Street home in Australia, and in 1977. And
no, well, I'm sure that there were leads and there were things that the police had to follow up in all that time. But then finally, just a couple of weeks ago, the suspect, Perry Karumbalis, who must have thought that he had got away with it. This is a guy who's got dual nationality, Australian and Greek. He was hiding in Greece. Was arrested because he left Greece. He was arrested at the Rome airport. And this has galvanized me as far as unsolved cases are concerned, because the thought that somebody could be caught after over 40 odd years makes you think that it's definitely worth doing these unsolved crimes. Even crimes from a long time ago can be solved. And that because ironically I had just started to look at some unsolved cases before this news came in. And I was planning on doing one presentation of 3 cases, unsolved cases in the UK. But as I've started researching this lady, Nicola Payne, I've realised that these cases, they're far too big to try and deal with all 3 of them in one video. So I'm going to do 3 separate presentations, 3 UK unsolved cases from the UK. So this first one, of course, that we're looking at, this is Nicola Payne. We'll then be looking at Nicola Ray, the unsolved case of Nicola Ray, and we'll then be looking at the unsolved case of Lindsay Reimer. Lindsay is the youngest one. She was only 14 when she disappeared, and actually her body has been found. We know she was murdered. Whereas Nicola Ray, her body has not been found, but she's presumed to have been murdered. And the same goes with Nicola Payne. So it's Nicola Payne that we're talking about today. So when I started looking at this case, it's not a case that I knew a lot about. To be honest, I think I'd got her a little bit mixed up with Nicola Ray, with the names being similar. And I didn't know the full details. So when I started looking into it, I soon realised that there's no way that I could tell Nicola's story along with that of 2 other missing women or dead women. This is a case, it's got a lot of twists and turns. It's got a lot of different facets to it, but I still think that one day it will be solved. You may, after you've watched this video, you may think that it's already been solved, but just nobody's been brought to justice for it. So it's Nicola Payne that we're going to talk about, and we're going to go through as many of the twists and turns that we can in the short time that we have in a video. How do you put sort of 20 years into a short video? It's difficult. Anyway, so let's chat. Plenty of love too. Okay, so we start at the beginning as always. That's the only place to start, isn't it? And this is Nicola Payne disappeared into the mist, literally into the mist. Walked out of one home, where she'd been staying, to walk to her parents' house, which was literally up the road. It was a very misty, very foggy day, and she literally disappeared into that fog or into that mist. So Nicola was a vibrant, happy 18-year-old new mum, so a young mum with a 7-month-old baby, Owen. She was looking forward to family life with her boyfriend, Jason Cook, and their very first Christmas together as a family. She had already written her son's Christmas card. So let's have a look at Nicola with her son at the time. This is her and Owen. very sadly, she did not get a chance to see Owen grow up. But at least she had, you know, the happiness of having a child. And apparently she loved being a mum. She looks happy. She looks very happy. But unfortunately, she wasn't to get to share Owen's life. So, yeah, she had already written his Christmas card. It said, "I hope your first Christmas is full of fun and laughter and plenty of love too." Owen did not receive that message from his mum for 17 years when the police finally passed that Christmas card over to him. So we're going back to December the 14th, 1991, in the Coventry area. She left her baby son with her boyfriend at his Winston Avenue home to visit her mum and dad, who lived only a 5-minute walk away in the Black Pad. She was crossing was called the Black, still is called the Black Pad, which is like a patch of like a walkthrough, if you like, an open space. In fact, if we can have a look at it, that's probably, let's have a look at the Google of it, you know, the map of it. So it was somewhere she'd walked before. She had no reason to worry, particularly that day, than any other day. And yeah, she was going to her parents' house to pick up some keys, supposedly to pick up the keys actually of a new property that her and her boyfriend and her son would be moving into. So let's have a look. The keys actually of a new property that her and her boyfriend. Yeah, because I like to show you more or less the geography of where we're going. I have to take that off a minute, well, because otherwise we're going to sleep. Yes, I like to show you more or less the geography. So for those of you who don't know Coventry, which I don't, I've never been to Coventry. Of course, there's a saying, isn't it? When someone gets sent to Coventry, it means people stop speaking to them. But let's see where it is. So this is the Black Pad. There's Coventry near Birmingham. So just and if you don't know where Birmingham is in context with the UK, so it's the Midlands. Birmingham is a very big city in the UK. So it's the Midlands. You've got Manchester up there, Sheffield, etc. And Coventry is a big place, but not a big city such as Birmingham. And this is the Black Pad, so this is where Nicola unfortunately went missing. And this is, let's put her picture back up. So yeah, she left on December the 14th, in 1991, she left her baby son with her boyfriend at his Winston Avenue home to visit her mum and dad, who lived just a 5-minute walk away. Now, later we're going to hear her mum and dad speaking. We're going to listen to a podcast that was made by Mark Williams Thomas. He's been heavily involved in this case. And also Peter Folding has been involved in this case. Well, they're like, brothers from another mother, aren't they? They tend to investigate cases together. And, Mark Williams Thomas, I'll never agree with him as far as Oscar Pistorius is concerned, saying that he was innocent. But, his podcasts are interesting. He gives in this particular one, he gives a good insight and some interviews with the family. We'll be listening to clips from his podcast. And we'll be listening to that at the end. So, yeah, she was going to pick up some keys. So it was foggy, and she walked into the mist on this wasteland known as the Black Pad, but she never made it to her parents' home in nearby Woodway Close in Wood End. Now, I've got a photo here of Nicola, which this is actually Nicola quite eerily. This is the Black Pad, I think, behind her. So it's sort of, maybe it was this particular path that she set off on. So what happened to her? She disappeared completely. She set off on this walk into the mist, as I say, and that's it. She was never, ever seen again. And not even deceased, because her body has not yet been found. So her father said that he was surprised when he spoke to her boyfriend to ask about where she was, because her boyfriend had said that Nicola had left on foot. Now, Nicola's dad said, I was surprised about that because Nicola never walked anywhere. But having said that, there is proof, well, there's witnesses who saw Nicola on that walk. So it seems like she actually did leave the house. Anyway, it's thought that she was abducted, she was killed, and her body was dumped somewhere. And of course, over the past 30 years, so that's how long ago it is now, over 30 years, there have been extensive searches in key areas in and on the outskirts of the city. No trace of Nicola has ever been found. And despite the fact that at some point along the way, 2 men were actually charged and tried for Nicola's murder, the jury found them not guilty, and we'll be looking at that later. So, of course, initial suspicion fell on her partner, as it does. Did she ever even leave the house? Did something happen to her the night before? But former Detective Chief Inspector Martin Slevin said that his team were not able to establish that anything untoward had happened to Nicola in Jason Cook's home. He says, we thoroughly explored every single piece of intelligence and hypothesis about potential sightings and what may have happened to Nicola between Friday evening and Saturday afternoon. So this was around about midday that Nicola left her boyfriend's house to walk the short walk to her parents. So it was middle of the day, but it was a very, very bad. It was a freezing December day, and there was a lot of fog mist. So the detective went on to say, we had a number of witnesses, one who knew Nicola well, who gave evidence that they saw her in Winston Avenue going on to the Black Pad on that day. So we've got to go with that hypothesis. So there were a number of hypotheses put forward about what may have happened to Nicola, what took place at Winston Avenue on the Friday night and on Sunday morning. We interviewed everybody that potentially could have held information about any incident that may have taken place in that house that night and in the morning, and we were not able to establish that anything untoward had happened to Nicola. So these positive sightings of Nicola at midday on Saturday, they were held up by witness testimony. So the detective added, we had significant information and public comment about what might have happened to Nicola over that time period. I said to Nicola's parents, we might never be able to give you answers to what actually happened to Nicola on that day or at that time period. And of course, because we didn't secure a conviction, we are not able to say with a degree of 100% confidence that this is what happened. Now, strangely enough, 8 people, a total of 8 people have been arrested in connection with Nicola's disappearance over these 3 decades. And in 2015, Nigel Barwell and Thomas O'Reilly, who are brothers-in-law, were actually charged with her murder. So not only were they arrested, but they actually went to trial. And of course, you can imagine the family, they probably thought this may be the end of it. However, despite mass evidence being put forward at trial, including a tent found with hairs in it that were 900 million times more likely to belong to Nicola than anyone else, the case fell apart Now, I think it's generally accepted that police did not deal well with this case in the beginning. You know, there was a lot of course, it was a different time then, you know, didn't have the same DNA advances that we've got now. But there was these hairs are key. There was a hair in particular found on a tent, which we're going to look at later. And Mark Williams Thomas in his podcast will be watching the clip where they talk about that. You know, it was, as I say, 900 million times more likely to belong to Nicola than anyone else. Even that was not enough to convince this jury. So Barwell and O'Reilly, they denied all charges, and they had said that they were in. Nigel Barwell had a very distinctive Ford Capri. This was part of the evidence as well, because it had been seen, or a Ford Capri had been seen near this the place. But they said that they'd actually been in Rugby in Warwickshire. They'd driven there for sort of like a boozy day, and they were in a car park there, and they'd slept overnight in the car. But no witnesses could place the men or the car where they said they were. And in the case against them, one person reported hearing a female scream and seeing men come out of the bushes near the Black Pad on that Saturday lunchtime. And others reported a blue Ford Capri similar to that of Nigel Barwell being nearby at the time. So absolutely shockingly and disappointingly for the family, of course, after deliberating for 3 days, the jury returned a unanimous not guilty verdict on these two men. Nicola's family were heartbroken, as you can imagine. Where to go now? So these are the prime suspects in this case, and they've already been tried and found not guilty. I'm not sure how that can work for the future. There needs to be more evidence, doesn't there? Or can you not even be tried again if there's new evidence? Anyway, I'm just going to tell you about some notable events that have happened over the years, because we're talking about a case, nearly 30 years or over 30 years. So there are some things that have happened over the years. Some things that I definitely didn't know about and surprised me and may lead you to believe were Barwell and O'Reilly guilty, because there were other suspects. Anyway, in April 1996, the police evacuated the garden of a property in Woodway Lane, acting on a tip-off. But after 12 hours of searching, nothing is found. In summer 2001, part of the Oxford Canal is dredged. After a witness comes forward with information, nothing is found. September 2001, bones are found to near where Nicola disappeared, but turn out to be animal remains. 2005, a new poster campaign is launched around the country to bring the case back into the public eye. Because the thing is, with these cold cases, of course, or unsolved cases, historic cases, people do forget. Other cases come up, other things happen. People's getting on with their lives, they do forget. New people coming, who may have some information from something their parents have told them, or old, people die, allegiances change. So it's very important to keep these cases going, isn't it? In 2006, T-shirts are printed by the National Missing Persons Helpline with Nicola's picture on them. 2007, it's announced that the case is to be re-examined. Reappeals by Nicola's parents, John and Marilyn. And also at this time, Nicola's son Owen by now is 16 years old, and he makes, he doesn't appear, but a statement is read out on his behalf. Then, on the 1st of November 2007, police arrest a 37-year-old man from Derbyshire on suspicion of the abduction and murder of Nicola. But he is released on bail pending further inquiries. And then in March, so quite a little while afterwards, so he was arrested in November. In March, he's released from bail and no further action is taken against him. Then in 2008, on June the 11th, more excavations start at the garden of a house in Winston Avenue, Henley Green. But that searches at that house draw a blank. And then on June the 19th, 2012, after another tip-off, police begin excavating land in Courthouse Green. And then this is a very, very strange thing that I think personally very odd. This let me just put a picture of Nicola back up rather than looking at these horrors. Yeah, very strange thing happened. Two men aged 74 and 45 are both arrested as part of the investigation, and a back garden in Miles Meadow, Bell Green, is searched. Now, this, I believe, is to do, it's mentioned in Mark Williams Thomas's podcast, but a guy called David Judge was said to have run Nicola over. And these are relatives of his father, I presume, his brother. I don't know. It's very difficult to find details of this. Now, David Judge deleted himself 6 weeks after Nicola disappeared. Didn't leave a note. Nobody knows why he did it or where it seemed to come out of nowhere. But he is no more, if you like. So he deleted himself. And these two men that were arrested on a tip-off, I believe. I think so. The man who died is called David Judge, and these two are relatives of his. I think the 74-year-old was his father. The 45-year-old, I can only presume, is his brother. But on June the 21st, the 74-year-old is released without charge, and the 45-year-old is released on bail in June, and charges against him are dropped in August. So they were named as 74-year-old Patrick Judge and his son Keith, aged 45, and the man that deleted himself was called David. They are being questioned on they were being questioned on suspicion of preventing a burial. So this seemed to be some intelligence that the police received that David Judge had knocked over Nicola and killed her by accident, and they seemed to think that they had buried her in the garden with the help of his father and brother. Then police said, at the time, they said that they'd also uncovered significant areas of interest at site in Courthouse Green. So this is completely nothing to do with Barwell and O'Reilly. You know, is it true that it wasn't Barwell and O'Reilly? Was the jury's decision correct that they're not guilty? Was it something to do with this? Anyway, nothing was ever proven. Nothing. So apparently these searches came as a result of new information revealed to the police, but during a series of briefings, the officers leading the investigation declined to say what the information was. But they did say they were optimistic that the latest tip-off will lead to the 18-year-old being found. So when was this? So this was in 2012. Anyway, appealing for the public's help, Detective Chief Inspector Matt Marker said someone out there knows what happened to Nicola and holds the key to unravelling the mystery of her disappearance. and they may have sat on that information for 21 years, which it was at the time. Like everybody in Coventry and everybody who has been involved in this case, past and present, we are extremely hopeful that we will find something. Someone holds the key, the information that is the key to understanding what happened to Nicola. And over the past 21 years, which it was at the time, that person may have kept this information secret due to allegiances. These allegiances may now have changed, and we would urge you to consider the traumatic and painful years that Nicola's family has endured. And he went on to say, this investigation will not go away. We will continue to review it, dig deep into your conscience. Now is the right time to come forward and speak to investigators and bring a conclusion to this investigation. So this case has never been closed by the police, and Nicola's parents and family did continue to keep their daughter's image in the public eye. For police and the people of Coventry, the disappearance of Nicola Payne is ingrained in their memory, said Detective Chief Inspector Markham. It's a sad and tragic milestone in the history of Coventry. It means so much to get closure for her family. Many of the officers who were initially involved in investigating the disappearance have retired. There's a long-standing desire from the police and local community to solve the mystery of Nicola's disappearance so we can bring that desperately needed closure to her family. They just want to know what happened to their daughter. This investigation has always been and is part of Coventry's history. Mention Nicola's name to anyone and they will know who she is and what it means. So, of course, all the neighbours, when all these places were sort of dug up, especially the gardens and things like that, you know, they were like confused, I would imagine, and shocked. But of course, they know about the Nicola Payne case. Everyone in that area will know about it. But anyway, nothing was found, and these men were released. David Judge, of course, he went to meet his maker, made his own decision about checking out, made his own decision. But why did he? Did he have a guilty conscience? Did he run Nicola over? Why did he delete himself 6 weeks after Nicola went missing, or is it just a coincidence? Anyway, on December the 14th, 2012, police and Nicola's parents launched the 21st anniversary appeal, asking for help identifying 2 men who were seen close to the black pad on the day she disappeared. Now, the thing is, David Judge's car was also a Capri. So this is it. We're talking about a Ford Capri. 2 men. Who were those 2 men? Was it Barwell and O'Reilly, or was it 2 of the judges? Anyway, in 2013, on December the 12th, 2013, a forensic breakthrough in the case is announced. And in December 2013, 2 men, both aged 49, were arrested. A 51-year-old woman was also arrested on suspicion of perverting the course of justice. In January 2014, the 2 men and the woman are bailed again. So, you know, they can't seem to make anything stick, could they? February 2014, police searched grassland at Stoke Floods near Mayflower Drive. February 2014, a 49-year-old man and a 47-year-old woman are arrested in connection with the disappearance, bailed until April. March 2014, police searched Coombe Abbey Woodland. Let's see if I can... January 2015, finally, Nigel Barwell 51 of Cockerhass Street, Alderman's Green, and Thomas O'Reilly, 50 of Ribble Street, Stoke, were charged with the murder of Nicola Payne. They pled not guilty. Police searched the Coombe Park fishery. June 2015, underwater search at Coombe Park fisheries. And then in October 2015, the murder trial starts. But by November, these brothers-in-law, Nigel Barwell and Thomas O'Reilly, are cleared by the jury. But the police say the case will remain open. In November 2016, police resumed the search for the body of Nicola Payne at Coombe Country Park. And in December 2016, Nicola's family released new images of her on the anniversary of her disappearance. And the family continued that Nicola's brothers speak publicly in December 2016. January 2017, searches continue. April 2017, Detective Chief Inspector Martin Slevin issues a clear message: don't take the secret to your grave. December 2017, 26th anniversary of her disappearance, Nicola's brother Scott announces a reward now has been tripled to £30,000. March 2018, divers search the fishing lake at Coombe Country Park. High-tech equipment is used. I think this is Peter Folding. You'll hear from Peter Folding later. High-tech, side scan sonar is used in an attempt to find any human remains that may be there, but nothing is found. February 2020, specialist divers, again, I think this is Peter Folding, begin a search of the Oxford Canal. March 2020, divers return to the canal to search around more bridges to look for a body. And then, so very, very sadly, in March 2023, Nicola's mum, Marilyn, dies without ever finding her daughter. That is just, I would imagine, I would hope, and I do believe that she will now know exactly what happened to Nicola. We can only hope that she is now reunited with Nicola. And I want to find a photo of her to show you. So we should have a look at the family, shouldn't we? So let's hope they're together again. That's just what I would hope, that they've been reunited in the next world, although she lost her daughter in this world. I do think the next world, goes on a bit longer, doesn't it? Hopefully. Let's have a look at some pictures of the family. So, yeah, this is her mum, bless her. And that's her dad. Her mum and dad. Her dad is still alive. And just hoping, her dad, that you'll hear him speak on you hear her mum speak on the Mark Williams Thomas podcast. You'll hear them both speak briefly. Her dad now just says he just wants to know where she is. He doesn't care about trials. He doesn't care about prosecutions. He just wants to know where she is, bring her home, put her to rest properly. So there's a family's life blighted by somebody's actions. This is what just all these victims, they ripple out, don't they? Because obviously Nicola is the main victim, but then her mum, her dad, her son, her brothers, etc. And the people that did this, somebody did it. The people that did it or know about what happened to Nicola, they're probably still in that area, walking around, living their lives, probably just literally around the corner to where because they all live in the same area, really, still. just awful to think, isn't it? Terrible. Okay, let's have another picture of Nicola up there. So unfortunately, Marilyn died without ever knowing in this life what happened to her daughter. So I think you can say, really, the police are still trying with Nicola Payne. They're still doing searches when they get information, etc. So apparently searches continued right up to 2020. What happened in 2020? COVID. So everything went on a back burner, didn't it? But this in May, only this year, in May 2023, Prime Video. I'm going to show you. Prime Video streamed a new docuseries, The Never Ending Murder, about Nicola's disappearance. So I'm going to show you a little sort of clip of that in a minute, a few things. Now, the other thing I just want to tell you about, before I go into like Mark Williams Thomas's podcast, etc., is there has been talk, because there was a Ripper, the Midlands Ripper, the Coventry Ripper, somebody who was supposed to be operating around about that time in that area. Let me see, I did have got something, have it prepared. Yeah, because at the same time that Nicola disappeared, there was a woman, there was a couple of women, SEX workers, who disappeared. And there was a man who was thought to be operating in that area. Some people even talked about Peter Tobin, because he had ties to Coventry as well. So now you may think, why is this related to Nicola Payne? But Barbara Finn, in particular, who is it's an unsolved case. This is Alan Kite, who is supposedly this Midlands Ripper, who supposedly killed SEX workers. Now, of course, SEX workers, they're the easiest targets in the world, aren't they? They're getting cars with men. People are a bit sniffy about them, like, oh, well, it's the lifestyle that they lived, as if it's better now, isn't it, for that kind of thing? But, these women, whether they're SEX workers or not, whoever they are, every life is important, every life that matters. Barbara Finn had a daughter, and she'd left her daughter with relatives when she went to work. And then Marie Garrity, also a sex worker and a mum, and she disappeared 4 years later. So there's some talk, of this guy, maybe if it was him who did this to these women, maybe it was him who abducted Nicola Payne, maybe it was Peter Tobin, or maybe it was those two guys that were actually, or certainly one of the guys, Nigel Barwell. He made a really strange phone call to the police about the Barbara Finn case. Why did he interject himself into that? Why? That makes you wonder, maybe he's the Midlands Ripper, or maybe he's responsible for some of the cases. So we're going to look at that in a bit as well, like listen to that phone call, because Mark Williams Thomas plays it on his podcast. There's more, even more. So this is what I mean about the rabbit hole that I fell into, because it's not just straightforward that Nicola went off and she disappeared and these two guys are suspected of killing her and nobody else is involved. There's all sorts of other connotations as well. And then, with the David Judge and his father and brother, did David Judge run her over and they buried her somewhere? Or, was it Nigel Barwell and O'Reilly? Or was it the Midlands Ripper? Or was it Peter Tobin? Because it's an unsolved case, just from its very nature of being unsolved, we don't know. Now, the police will have more information. Maybe they are convinced one way or another who it is because of information that they can't give out. But anyway, these both were never seen again, and they're thought to be victims of a serial killer. So apparently this guy, Alan Kite, he's serving 2 life sentences for murdering Sam O'Paul of Rowley Regis in '93 and Tracy Turner, who worked the region's motorway service stations in 1994. And though he's only been convicted of these 2 murders, the police were investigating links to potentially dozens more deaths and disappearances from the 80s and 90s. So just wanted to tell you about that. That's another possibility, of course. So don't forget to let me know what you think in comments after, you know, what's your general impression of what happened to Nicholas so far? You know, we don't know, but people will, you know, do you think it was Barwell and O'Reilly? Or do you think there may be more to it? And maybe it's more to do with the Judge family? Or is it maybe even something completely different? You know, the thing is, just by the very nature that it's unsolved, we don't know, do we? We don't know what it is. Okay, so I'm just going to show you now, or read to you really. We'll keep the picture of Nicola up there. First of all, I'm just going to read you like what they're saying on Reddit, you know. So it's a big thing on Reddit, you can imagine. On Reddit, they like to talk about unsolved crimes or crimes in general. Now, this is something as well, something that I haven't told you about yet. Soon after her disappearance, the Payne family began receiving telephone calls from a man claiming information to her whereabouts. He claimed to have seen someone carrying a possibly drunk individual along the side of the road. His only description of the man was that he was wearing a big coat and possibly had a moustache. Anyway, that never came to anything. So, of course, they dug up the garden of that residence in Woodway Lane, found nothing, dredged the canal, found nothing. Arrested the 37-year-old man from Derbyshire, but no charges. Then he excavated the other garden in Winston Avenue, nothing found. So nothing. It's like nothing. It's like there's nothing. They've tried, haven't they? You couldn't say that they have not tried. But you know, nothing has been found. So where is her body? Where are her clothes that she was wearing? You know, things don't just disappear into thin air. We know that, don't we? Now I want to show you the Facebook page. So there's still a Facebook page operating. Find Nicola Payne. Actually, I'll go back to the beginning of it. So I just want to show you. So yeah, find Nicola Payne. It's got 4.7 thousand followers. In fact, I'm going to like it. I don't think I'd liked it before. I've only found it today. Yeah. You still post every now and again. And it's telling about the, let's have a look at the
unsolved crimes in this country.
I think. Let's have a look at the trailer for the Never Ending Murder. I don't have Prime, unfortunately, at the moment. I had it. I don't know what happened to it. I probably just stopped paying for it. I don't know. Oh, it's not coming on. It's buffering. Okay, probably just as well because they'll probably get me for copyright. But yeah, Amazon Prime, the Never Ending Murder. So if you've got Amazon Prime, you might find that interesting. There it is. Now there's an this is a vigil that
Quite
was
significant
held.
to the family. So yeah, we just want to not let it go by without doing something. That's it there. We got still got the reward. Sydney.
Sorry. So for 30-year anniversary of Nicola's death, they had a candlelit vigil.
It's just to mark the 30th anniversary of my sister's disappearance. I say 30 years, a long time. It's quite significant to the family. So yeah, we just want to not let it go by without doing something. That's it. We still got the reward. There's £100,000 reward, and it's not for a conviction. It is just for the return of my sister's body. That's all we're asking for. And if people don't want to go through the police, they can go through any member of the family there, and we can sort all that out.
So it's just so sad.
Sydney, just to mark the 30th anniversary of my sister's disappearance. I say 30 years, a long time. It's quite significant to the family. So yeah, we just want to not let it go by without doing something. That's it. We still got the reward. There's £100,000 reward, and it's not for a conviction. It is just for the return of my sister's body. That's all we're asking for. And if people don't want to go through the police, they can go through any member of the family there, and we can sort all that out.
Oh, they just want her back. They just want her back. You know, they don't care now. They've gone past the conviction stage because so long has gone. They just want Nicola's body so that they can, you know, respectfully know where she is, bury her, have a service for her. You know, it's just so heartbreaking. I'll tell you, if you, well, you never know who might be watching this. I'll tell you, if anyone who's watching this, if you have any information, or if you are the person, you know, you owe it to, well, you owe it to your own soul. Have a think about what legacy you're leaving behind you, you know, because you won't be so young now. You know, one day karma will catch up with you, whether you like it or not, whether you get sent to prison or not. One day you've got to face your maker in the next world. And, you know, try and make that easier for yourself. You know, that's what I'd say. You've taken Nicola away from her family, and especially her son and her parents, for over 30 years. Now is the time at least to do the right thing. Do the right thing. Give her back, at least for the next 30 years, so that they've got somewhere to go to grieve Nicola properly, and to know she's just not lying out there like rubbish somewhere. So I don't think people can underestimate how important it is to get somebody's remains back. You know, even you know, and I'm a great believer that you know, we are everywhere. Like, once we pass from this world, we are around everywhere. And I'm sure Nicola is around her family and her friends, and has been, you know, ever since she died. But still, for them themselves, to just the thought of knowing where she is means a lot. So, you know, search your soul and do the right thing before, because soon it'll be too late for you to do that when you go. And then you've got to face it all in the next life. Do you think you'll have got away with it? You think you won't have to pay? Of course you'll have to pay. Everybody, you always have to pay in the end, one way or another. Anyway, so yeah, that's the Facebook group. There's a couple of interviews on there, which I'm not going to show because, you know, they're on like TV programs and things like that, and they'll pick up for copyright. So, oh, but poor Nicola, you know, and she was so beautiful, wasn't she? Just a young mum, you know, like there she was, her whole life in front of her with a little boy, and, you know, moving into their new house and spending Christmas, first Christmas as a little family, all just taken away. Terrible. Okay, so now we're going to look a little bit at the Mark Williams Thomas podcast. So I've cut it a little bit, you know, and we're not going to listen to the whole thing, but it's worth listening to. If you want to listen to the whole thing, I'm going to put a link in description so that you can so that you can watch all of it if you want to. But I have edited it, and we're not even going to listen to everything that I've.
Ways now, we're getting our lives back for ourselves, and things are starting to look up for us.
Just fast forward a bit. The music.
I asked Maz to tell me about the day Nicola went missing.
So he's gone round to the parents' house, and this is Nicola's mother speaking, who very sadly, as I say, has passed away this year, just this year. Sorry, last year, 2023, I think it was.
Rang me and asked me, had Nicola come to see me? And I said, no. Why? He said, well, she hasn't come home. And I said, well, what about Owen? Oh, Owen's there. They've got Owen, but Nicola's not there. I kept having pains, thinking there was something wrong. But I never thought it was my family. I just knew there was something wrong.
Nicola was very outward going. She liked life.
So this now is her dad, John, talking.
She liked enjoying herself. Very friendly with everybody. And she was the youngest of the family. She was spoiled.
Oh.
Especially by her dad, Nicola was looking forward to going.
The baby of the family. We're always spoiled. I was a baby as well, and you do get spoiled.
Into her own house, we'd helped to buy a house, and we'd done it all up.
John tells me about the last time he saw Nicola.
I'd been at work all week, and I got home on the Friday evening. Nicola was there with Owen. Marilyn had gone to work, because she works at old people's home, and she was working all night, she's on a night shift. And then it was about 8 o'clock in the evening. Jason come round, and she said she's going to stop at Jason's for the night. I said to her, I'll give Owen a kiss, my lovely little grandson, and that's it. And never thought nothing of it.
And that's the last time you saw Nicola?
Last time I've seen her.
Maz thinks that quite a lot of people know more than what they are saying.
12 people at least I could speak out to myself, and I would know that I would know.
That know about her?
I feel they know all about it, and if they didn't do it, they would be knowing what was on it as well, definitely.
Now, listening to Maz speaking here, I got the impression that she seemed to think something had happened at the house. But Nicola was seen, on the Black Pod that day. So it does seem that she did leave the house. But I just felt when Maz was talking here, she had this impression that and of course, often these sort of cases, it is the partner, isn't it? But the police seem to think they could not find any signs that anything untoward had happened at the property. That it was to do more with her partner. She actually was seen, if it was her, but she was seen by people who knew her, so we have to conclude that she was on the Black Pod that day.
But they're all frightened because you don't know what will happen if they're the one that says something.
So what were the first few weeks like after Nicola's disappearance?
It wasn't just one night, it was 5 weeks. I sat on one end of the sofa and I wouldn't move. I wasn't going, I wasn't doing nothing. I couldn't do it. I had to stop. My sons used to lie on the floor because John wouldn't have the doors locked. He said, because if Nick is there, she can just get in. We always kept the same telephone. Even though we've moved, we've managed to get them to keep us the same all this time. And I remember saying to my sister, oh, I hope I haven't got to wait 12 months for them to find Nicola. And that always sticks in my head about from that day as well. And she said, you won't. She was always a good girl. She'd do her best to help. But you can't.
Oh, bless.
People can't give you what they can find out, can they? But there is people out there that know. I just really, really hope that this would let somebody just have a little look and see,
Oh,
because it tears all the family apart, really, you know. I've always asked God to help find the remains now, as that would be. So at least I would feel I could leave this earth knowing a bit more, feeling better.
Maz and John and the family have had their lives torn apart by the disappearance of Nicola, a torment that no family should ever have to go through, but made worse by the fact that nobody has been brought to justice and they have no idea where Nicola could be. All they have are memories.
We've had this up now 28 years, haven't we?
Yeah, right.
And the eyes always look like she follows you. If I look that way, I feel that she...
Whenever you look at it,
It does. She follows me.
so this must be a big either photo or painting of Nicola that they've got on the wall that she's talking about. And it'll feel like she's close to them. I'm sure she's been looking over them. But anyway, Maz will be with Nicola now, let's hope.
It was John who first reported his daughter missing.
Well, I got back just after 12:30 it was, and I walked in, I thought, well, she hasn't come back yet. So I waited 5-10 minutes, she weren't there. She still hadn't come, so I rung Jason up then, Jason's house, and he told me she'd left 20 minutes ago. So I said, well, she should be here by now. And he said, she's walking. I thought, well, that's unusual. Nicola never walked anywhere. I give it another 5 minutes. I thought, well, I'll go and look for her.
So I don't know where she's walking, and he said, I thought that's unusual. She never walks anywhere. So how would she have got there then? Did she drive? Did she have a car? Why was he surprised? You know, I would have wanted to press that a little bit. Why was he surprised that she was walking? Didn't she do that often, or did she normally drive round to them? You know, why did she decide to walk that day when it was foggy? You know, would you choose to walk over wasteland when it's a foggy day? You know, but maybe she would because she did it all the time. But from what her dad's saying, she didn't do it all the time. So I would have liked to clear that up. You know, how did she normally get there if she didn't like walking?
I walked down as far as the field, couldn't see, I could see across the field, couldn't see her coming this, that, and the other. And I thought, queer this is. So I went back home and I thought, wondering what to do next. That's when I thought there's something not right there. That's when I started panicking. And that's when they decided to phone the police. You read about these things in the paper and you never think it'll ever happen to you, and it's happened. What do I do?
One question I want to consider early on is, was Nicola alive on Saturday, or could she have come to harm on the Friday night?
So, 14th of December 1991, we know Nicola was at her boyfriend's parents' house.
Yeah.
What do we know after that?
So it's about lunchtime on the Saturday. So she leaves here and she walks down this road towards the black pad, enters the black pad, but of course that's where the trail goes dead.
So she was going to her parents' house to pick up a set of keys?
Yeah. It was to pick up the keys to the house that they were due to move into. So you're talking about a life that's literally about to move on to the next stage. She had everything going for her. And her child was left here with her boyfriend. It just doesn't make any sense that she walks down there and disappears.
Yeah, and why didn't she take Owen with her? Why did she not take Owen with her to her mum and dad's? Very odd. So there is an oddness about that, isn't there? And I wonder if some of those people that have been arrested over the years were anything to do with Nick, because we don't have names of people until they're charged. I wonder if some of those people that were arrested, like there was a woman arrested for aiding and abetting, or whatever. I can't remember the exact wording of it, but no, they were all bailed and released. But it makes you wonder: is there anything in that? Maybe Nigel Barwell is innocent. I mean, he's not a nice person. I'll tell you that, because there's other things that he's done. Nigel Barwell and O'Reilly, they're definitely not nice people. But, this is the mystery of Nicola, isn't it?
Busy area as well, isn't it? You
Yeah.
know, it's built up.
Residential, yeah.
So I think our focus now has to be going through the files to identify witnesses. Did anyone see her on that lunchtime? Did anybody hear or see anything suspicious? Let's go and see those people. Distance of time is always difficult for people's memory, but hopefully such a significant moment, and it has received huge publicity, that they'll still remember that detail.
Yeah, absolutely.
And let's get hold of the initial police officer that dealt with the investigation in 1991.
Yeah.
And let's get him down here and let's let him talk me through that investigation in the early stages.
I've got hold of retired Superintendent Malcolm Ross, and I want him to meet me at the Black Pad to talk through the case.
So Malcolm, you led the initial investigation right from the start. Tell me what you were told about Nicola.
Okay, I was told on the Sunday evening that she'd gone missing on the Saturday, and the usual inquiries had been done.
And just give me a sense of what the initial thoughts were of the police. Young girl, lunchtime on a Saturday, vanishes.
Absolutely.
Can I get these stupid
Not happened before. No suggestion that she was.
One of the things I read was that initially they wondered if it might be self-deletion. Like they do, they always presume that, don't they? And you shouldn't do that. You should presume that some foul play has happened until you're proved otherwise, not the other way round.
Going to leave, very, very strange. And by Monday, when nothing had been heard from her, my fears were raised, and that's why we launched into a major investigation.
The initial police response was limited. The police policy file stating that the duty senior officer is of the opinion that the report is just a misper, a girl gone to an acid house party, and that there was no need to involve CID. It would take a few days before the police realised how serious Nicola's disappearance was and increased their search efforts.
The old boots were a brand new pair of very similar boots. They've even got the price tag still on them. Yeah. So those are there. Okay, so, and any underclothing, she was either wearing a white bra and knickers or one of these white teddies,
So Malcolm, what do we know about Nicola leaving the house on that Saturday lunchtime?
Well, we know that she was here with Jason and the baby, Jason's mom and other members of the family. And Jason's mom was in the window waiting for a friend to come and take her shopping. And she was standing in the window and she saw Nicola come out of the front door and walk diagonally across the grass here. No, she didn't go down the path. She come across the grass. And then she walked on down here. And then she was seen by the lady who was with her husband in a car discussing her husband buying her boots for Christmas. And she saw Nicola and said, "Those are the sorts of boots I want you to buy me." They were the boots that Nicola was wearing. And then there was the man down here, farther on, who was repairing his car, that knew that she was she lived here with a boyfriend or stayed here with a boyfriend, and she walked past him, and then a few minutes later he looked behind him and she disappeared into the fog along the path on the Black Pad. And of course that's the route to her mum and dad's house where she lived, and she was going across to her mum and dad's house to pick some keys up, and also to I think.
So it does, and then you hear this, and she was seen, not only by her boyfriend's mum leaving, but also, obviously she's going to stick up for her son probably, but also by other people, independent witnesses and that. So, seems like she did leave, but why did she walk, and why did she not take the baby with her?
Get some nappies.
How far is that?
no more than 10 minutes. I wouldn't have thought. Straight across the black pad, and no doubt she's done it time and time again.
There were 3 key reported sightings on the Saturday. Malcolm Brannan, he came forward 4 days after Nicola went missing and says he was outside working on his car when he saw Nicola walk past his house at around 12:15 towards a black pad where he lost sight of her. He said he knew Nicola. Dawn McKay says she saw Nicola around 12:20 walking along Winston Avenue, but describes Nicola going the other way, away from the black pad. And then Parker, who says that just before midday, she saw Nicola leaving the Cook family address. They exchanged greetings and then walked opposite ways, with Nicola walking off towards the direction of the black pad. Parker recalls at the time of seeing Nicola, she was wearing a brown leather jacket and pixie boots.
Just give me a sense of the scale of the operation that you were running here over those few days.
On the Monday,
So a lot of people that saw her. So maybe we've got to assume that she was on there.
I geared up the search, and over the next few days, we had dozens and dozens of officers here. We had mounted officers, dog officers, helicopters, search teams, and we went through here, cutting all the bracken down, searching for it. It was a really intense search. And then later on, after speaking to the family, we found that Nikki had wore a little necklace. And I remember doing it again then to see if we could find the necklace.
Okay.
So this place was searched for days and days. The main problem was the weather. Of course, it snowed. The search had to be cancelled for 2 days because it's pointless searching, particularly for the necklace when the snow was on the ground. But it went on, the search went on for weeks.
It quickly became apparent to the family that something must be wrong, and they all became involved in the search. They spoke with a neighbour, Pat Carter, who told them that he'd walked his dog earlier over the black pad and he saw 2 men acting suspiciously and heard a woman scream. He also saw a car at the time, which was quite distinctive.
So this Capri car seems to have been seen by a few people. Now, of course, David Judge, the guy that was thought might have run Nicola over by accident, he had a Capri as well. So did he run her over by accident? You know, because it was a foggy day. Would he have been driving on that black pad place? You know, anyway, there's definitely a Capri connected somehow. A lot of people saw it. And of course, someone who had a Capri was Nigel Barwell.
The police now needed urgently to identify the car and the 2 men. But at the same time, they received another significant lead. Someone kept calling the Paynes, saying that they had seen Nicola in company with a man with a moustache in various locations. And a note had been thrown into the Paynes' garden saying she had been seen with someone who matched the description at the time she went missing. The case was now receiving considerable media.
Yeah, this is just beyond me. These people that phone up bereaved families, we've heard it a lot. Like, you know, Jen Soto was saying she'd had phone calls. Jay Slater's mum, phone calls, you know, asking for ransom, saying that they had Jay. Madeline Soto, Jen Soto receiving calls with someone crying for help in the background. What is wrong with these people? You know, so this just leads the police off if it's not true. So she'd been seen with a man with a moustache. Leads people off, the police off, waste valuable resources when they're trying to find an 18-year-old girl and mother, and they've got idiots phoning up with false leads. It makes my blood boil, really.
Your attention, and as a result, lots of information was coming into the incident room. These included 2 separate reports of disturbed ground at Coombe Abbey, where Nicola could be buried, a manager of a nearby pub saying that he had heard Nicola is buried with another body, and at least 10 different people named as having killed Nicola, and a medium saying Nicola is buried. I've spent hours going through the case files and have identified a person who I think is a key witness, who I believe has been ignored, but who could hold vital information. I'm meeting Ron and his wife back at the location where he thinks he may have seen something connected to Nicola's disappearance.
So, Ron, here we are. You would call this the bomb crater?
Yeah.
In your own words, tell me what you saw.
So I was on that bank,
right,
trying to fly a model helicopter, and I saw this girl sat here. She was sat or crouched right there.
So she's here?
Yeah, she was about like this, but crouched down.
Crouched down.
Because I could see her. I thought it's strange for her to be sat on frozen ground because it was freezing fog at the time.
So tell me, the weather is really cold.
It was very cold.
Freezing fog.
Freezing fog. Yeah.
And this is Saturday afternoon.
Yes.
Right.
Couldn't make it out.
You couldn't make it out really clear.
I couldn't see who it was.
No.
I could see that it appeared to be a girl.
Right. What did you think?
I thought, shall I go over to her and see if she's all right? And then I thought, no, they're waiting to jump out and grab my helicopter.
Okay.
That was my immediate
So your thought was there was somebody else there?
Yeah.
Right.
I got the impression there was.
Right.
But
so although you didn't see someone, you formed the impression that there was probably somebody else there.
Yeah.
So at that stage, we're talking Saturday afternoon. You don't know that Nicola Payne is missing.
No.
When do you become aware, and what do you do?
As soon as I saw it on the television, I said to Rhoda, I said, I wonder if that was anything to do with that girl I saw.
Yeah, so here's a witness that Marcus apparently found or got talking to, who didn't realise at the time that what he saw might have been relevant. I mean, of course, that does happen, doesn't it? You know, would you know, sometimes when I'm out walking with the dogs and you see something, and wouldn't be till later, would it, that you heard about what had happened to someone, or possibly that you think, oh yeah, I saw that shoe. That happened with Sarah Payne, little Sarah. It was quite a little while after it had happened that somebody, a member of the public, phoned in and said they'd seen a child's shoe on the side of the road, and that turned out to be Sarah's shoe, and turned out crucial in the case with DNA, etc. So you know, things. It is the public who solves crime a lot of the time. You know, obviously the police do the legwork and they do the electronic data now and the DNA testing and stuff, but they have to have the cooperation of the public. You know, they tread a fine line really, because yeah, when does the public become a help or a hindrance? You know, we see that with social media as well. Social media can be a help. There's just recently been a case in the US where there was a man on the run, a killer, a shooter, and two YouTubers found his body in the woods. The police had been looking for him, searching for him, manhunt, didn't find him, and these two YouTubers found him. So, you know, social media and the public can be a help as well as a hindrance, but it just has to be controlled properly. The police have to control it, but they shouldn't ignore it.
So this is December 1991.
Yeah.
And do you then get, the police do a review years and years later. Do you get a visit by the police then?
No.
Nothing at all?
No.
I don't know if that was Nicola, but I think it's a very significant piece of information. How do you feel? You've lived with this for years.
Yeah. Since the event, it just shatters me to think that it could have been Nicola, and nothing has been done.
What if it is Nicola? What if Nicola is here?
I don't know. I don't know. I'll cope with it.
You know, so of course it may not have been Nicola. It could be completely unrelated, but yeah, these things need to be followed up, don't they?
So they appear absolutely genuine. They've tried for years to get the police to follow up on their sighting. And this is something they reported in 1991, but in the review, it never got picked up. And until today, I didn't know about them. But now I think that could well have been Nicola. And if it is Nicola, that places her here at 3:30 on that Saturday afternoon. And it changes the whole timeline.
3:30, that can't have been her because she walked out at 12 or something. How could she still be there at 3:30? But anyway, you know, we'll never know, or maybe we will know one day.
Of the police investigation.
I'm meeting back up with Malcolm Ross to ask him about the early days of the investigation.
So the first 24, 48 hours of any major investigation are really significant. Did you get a breakthrough?
Yes, we did. So we're at the top end of the black pad now. At that time, there were no gates here and no fences. And we have a witness that's walking his dog on this black pad area here. And he sees a man by a bush to start with. And he thinks that man's urinating. And he carries on walking and he can hear a car revving its engine. And as he comes around by this area here, he sees the Ford Capri, the blue one with the skirts on, and he sees another man there. He walks past that and he's going to walk in a loop and come back. And just as he's gone past the Capri, bear in mind the fog, he hears a scream. And when he comes back round, the car's gone. And the car must have come down.
So this is the only route in and out?
This is the only route to this point here.
And what connects that vehicle to the two suspects you arrested?
The vehicle was very distinctive. The detectives on duty at that time made some inquiries, traced the car.
And on the evening of Sunday, the 15th of December, the Capri owner, Nigel Barwell, and his brother-in-law, Thomas O'Reilly, are both treated as witnesses and asked to attend the police station to give statements. There was a further development on the Sunday when witness Patrick Carter came forward with new information.
The witness comes forward and he goes to the police station to be interviewed and sees the car in the car park and said, that's the car.
So a positive identification?
Yes.
Barwell and O'Reilly live locally and spent a lot of their time together. Both have previous convictions. Barwell the most serious for arson, wounding and robbery, and O'Reilly mainly for motoring offences. Another witness comes forward. Richard Dowie says that he saw on Saturday around 10:30 a.m. a blue Ford Capri being driven down Winston Avenue towards Cardinal Wiseman School. The Capri became a significant line of inquiry for the police.
And what is it that put them here? Were they connected in some way to the community? Did they know Nicola?
They were local men. It was the relationship between the two men, the car, and the witness saying that he heard a scream, which was significant. So the car was taken in and subsequently forensically examined.
Lots of discussions took place over the retention of Barwell's Capri for forensic examination. A senior officer ruled that the car could not be held and it had to be returned.
And from reading the files, I understand there were some issues in those early days.
Yeah, so it seemed like, well, he's just about to ask the guy about it now. You know, in those early days of the investigation, the police were crap. You know, they were rubbish. So no wonder they're trying to make up for it now by going in. You know, they owe Nicola's family, especially after the failed convictions, the failed trial, they owe Nicola and her family to make up for the way they mistreated this case. Again, making assumptions because she was a young girl. Had she been on a rave? Had she been? Well, we didn't do raves then, but you know, had she gone off with somebody else? Had she self-deleted? She's an 18-year-old girl. You know, making those assumptions instead of thinking straight from the beginning. This is suspicious, and then, you know, changing their mind about that when it turns out that it isn't. They always straight away assume no suspicious circumstances instead of assuming suspicious circumstances first.
around the retention of the car?
Yes, the car was released by the police on the Sunday, and when I took charge of the investigation on the Monday, I got the car back, and it was then that it was forensically examined.
The decision was to arrest Barwell and O'Reilly on suspicion of the abduction of Nicola Payne, and for the Ford Capri to be seized again, and all clothes and intimate samples to be obtained, as well as both their homes searched. Both were interviewed and remained in custody until late on Tuesday the 18th.
So you've got two men in custody, you're interviewing them. What are they saying about their movements on the Saturday?
Well, they both adamant that they were in a car park in Rugby, that they'd gone to Rugby to buy some drugs, and that they'd fallen asleep in their car in a car park in Rugby. Well, we made inquiries about that, and there's no evidence at all that that car was overnight in the car park. Had it been, it would have been ticketed, and we traced the gentleman that's responsible for doing that, and he was adamant that car was not in the car park at Rugby. And we got to the stage where with the evidence that we got and the information that we got at that stage, we had to release them because there wasn't enough evidence to charge them.
During interview, O'Reilly stated that he took 2 blankets from home with him that weekend to use to sleep on, which he placed back in the airing cupboard on his return. However, police established with O'Reilly's mother that only 1 blanket was returned. Barwell's wife was spoken to. She confirmed his story.
So that's suspicious, isn't it? Only 1 blanket came back. So where is this blanket, and where is Nicola? Where is Nicola's clothes? You know.
Said that on the Sunday he had vacuumed his car. Both Barwell and O'Reilly are released and agreed to take part in an ID parade scheduled for the 23rd of December.
Matt, it would be really helpful in my very initial stages where we are at the moment. Do you have a thought and a hypothesis of what happened to Nicola?
From the very first day of me being involved in this, my view is that she has been abducted, that she's not the sort of person that would have gone off and not contacted her family, her child. So she's been abducted, I think, and I think, sadly, she's been murdered.
Any idea where her body could be? In what state it would be?
Well, where her body is, I don't know. It's certainly not on the black pad.
Police had been given Colin Jones as an alibi by Barwell and O'Reilly, so they wanted to check this out. Jones was seen and stated that he had no arrangements to meet, and both Barwell and O'Reilly were bailed to attend an identification parade on the 23rd of December, and then on the 21st of February. Both failed to attend on both occasions. This intelligence report shows Barwell and a man using Peter Bull's passport travelled from Dover to Calais on the day of.
Yeah, so they bailed them with the identification parade coming up, and surprise, surprise, they didn't turn up for it. Strange, isn't it? And off they went travelling and came back with different appearances, you know, with different hair, moustache, whatever. God, why do they assume that people are going to turn up for identity parades?
The ID parade. This police file show it was O'Reilly using Bull's passport.
So you've got 2 men due to come back for bail. They don't come back for bail. The purpose of coming back for bail, as I understand it, was they were going to come to an ID parade. Is that right?
That's right. The ID parade was arranged. They failed to turn up. They eventually turned up after some weeks. Their appearance had changed.
And how significant had their appearance changed?
Well, they'd had the hair done differently, and one had got a moustache, and so on and so forth. And nobody picked them out.
It was not until 2007 that the case received close attention again. This time,
yeah, so nobody picked them out of the identity parade.
By a dedicated major investigation team. And then in 2012, the case was fully reopened when DCI Martin Slevin took charge.
It was the first time I'd met John and Marilyn. And one of the most difficult questions I asked both of them was, were they reconciled to the fact that Nicola was dead? And I had a mixed reaction. because it was quite important to broach that topic, because I was going to be talking in terms of finding the body and arresting people for murder. And if they weren't reconciled to that fact, it was going to make it increasingly
Were they?
Marilyn was. John obviously lived in hope that Nicola would one day walk back through the door. But I think after the conversation I had with them, they both came to the realization that now we were investigating Nicola's murder.
Yeah. You had no doubt that she had been murdered when you took on the investigation.
Yeah, absolutely. The information that I had.
Yeah, so this is the new detective taking over, and yeah, it must have been very difficult to say to the parents, look, I think we're looking for a body, because even though maybe in their head they knew that, in their heart they would have been hoping that one day Nicola would come back, I suppose. I just don't know how people cope with these kind of things.
Indicated that Nicola was probably dead within a number of hours of her being abducted.
So what was it that got the case reopened in 2012?
Yeah, we had some strands of intelligence that indicated that a man by the name of David Judge, who is now deceased, had actually knocked Nicola over. What was significant was that he owned and was driving a dark-coloured 43. And significantly, David Judge had committed suicide 6 weeks after Nicola's disappearance. He hadn't left a suicide note. It was completely...
It is odd that, isn't it? Maybe it's just that people put 2 and 2 together and made 5 there, with the Capri and everything. But I don't know. So he's run her over in the middle of the day, even though it was foggy. His dad and his brother have gone and helped him bury her somewhere to hide it. I don't know.
Unexpected, and there was no reason for him to do that.
Just one person telling you this, or was more than one person telling you that he was involved?
We initially thought we had 2 strands of intelligence. I identified that there was actually 3. And we made 2 arrests whilst we were carrying out a detailed search of an area in Henley Green in Coventry. And whilst those arrests were going on, we had further people coming forward telling us the same piece of information and intelligence. It was too much to ignore, and that's why I arrested 2 people, interviewed them, but was able to eliminate them from the inquiry.
Family's hopes were dashed again. Coming up in episode 2, in 1996.
So, arrested them, but eliminated them from the inquiries. And of course, I think theirs was one of the gardens that was searched. They've searched a couple of gardens. So, yeah.
Police search a house a few feet down from where Nicola was staying with her boyfriend, and she vanished.
Policemen with shovels, 2 dogs trained to find human remains. The garden of a house just yards from where Nicola Payne was last seen.
A strong witness comes forward with startling intelligence.
He again had the car, he cut everything out. He cleaned the boot inside the car, not just a little wipe. He got the back out and
late evenings, late nights, with the help of my 2 family liaison officers, look for that one vital piece of information that might open this case up again. And eventually I found it. I found a pocket notebook entry of an officer that indicated there were witnesses who could break the alibi of Nigel Barwell and Thomas O'Reilly, but wouldn't give statements back in 1991-92. The question I asked myself, has anybody been back to see these witnesses in that 20 years? The answer was no, and that was my starting point.
Nicola grew up in a community in Coventry, which is very tight-knit, and what I'm hoping to do is use the information I've been given by the police, who are working very closely with me, and visit some people who are either potential suspects or know those suspects. And my focus is to try and get those people to talk to me And why would they talk to me now? Well, years later, people change their allegiances, they change their attitudes. Some of these people will become parents themselves and think, well, if my child goes missing, of course I'd want to know what happened to them.
I've had some time to reflect on my investigations so far, and there was something that Malcolm Ross said to me from our previous encounter that I've taken a deeper look into.
Is there any other cases that you looked at that were around this area that could have some similarities?
Yes, there was a rape investigation sometime before Nikki went missing, and of course we had to look at that to see if there's any similarities.
Over the past few days, I've dug further into this allegation, and I can now reveal for the very first time that Barwell was arrested and charged with that alleged rape in 1986. A 31-year-old female had told police that she got out of a taxi after a night out with friends.
So it turns out that Nigel Barwell, he had been charged with RAPE before. Now, I'm going to fast forward a little bit through this, but I'll just tell you what happened. So this poor woman was, it's definite that something happened because she was subjected to a 2-hour attack, let's say. And he originally sort of was ducking being caught or being questioned even. Then suddenly he contacted the police and he said, oh, no, yeah, we did have contact, but it was consensual. And it was never taken any further. He was believed that they had SEX, but it was consensual. And so he was never actually found guilty of that offence. So there you go. I mean, was it... Who do you believe? I know who I believe.
From the area over there to here. Could you do that?
Yes. There was free access to this field,
right?
24/7.
Right. Okay. So I've seen photographs of the day, and there are tyre tracks which look to show a vehicle having driven from the area where Nicola was last sighted, just before we get on the black pad, to this area. Would that be consistent with an opportunity for a car to drive across that way?
Absolutely, yes. It would have been quite clear for a vehicle to come that way without any problems.
And did cars used to do that?
Yes.
Two really important.
That solves the thing about why they thought it was possible that David Judge might have ran Nicola over. So apparently this place has now got fences around it, but then it was like an open type waste ground, and they found tyre tracks. So there'd definitely been a car there. So was that car there to abduct Nicola, or was that car there that ended up by accident running over Nicola, and then it was there to take her away and hide her body somewhere, but there definitely was a car there. So and apparently there were, it was common
Sightings of a Capri here, and that's why I wanted to come and look at this area. I turn up and a man comes and says, do you want to go down the pathway? I live at this house just over the back here. And actually, when I get talking to him, his wife sees on the day a Capri parked here on that Saturday. It's a new witness. 26 years on, he says, yeah, the police did talk to my wife on that day. They said they were going to come back, and they never did. But I think what it tells you is, even 26 years on, a crucial witness who's never, ever been in the police system, we've just found.
Louise Sandbrook previously refused to give a statement, but was revisited in 2012 by police, and this time gave a formal account. She states she saw Barwell and O'Reilly stood by Barwell's Capri on the day Nicola vanished, at a location about 5 minutes drive away from the black pad, on the day that both Barwell and O'Reilly told the police they were in Rugby. I'm meeting Martin Slevin at the location of that sighting.
Thanks for coming to meet me, Martin.
Good to see you again, Mark.
So, Martin, this is a really significant location in terms of one of the witnesses. What I'd like to do is talk me through what they told you they saw on that Saturday afternoon.
Yeah, we're in Dunrose Close in Coventry, Mark, and this was a key significant event. We had a witness, Louise Sandbrook, who lived at the
house over there. And what Miss Sandbrooks told us when officers called at her address was that late on the Saturday afternoon, sometime around 3 o'clock, 3:30, she saw a metallic blue Ford Capri just parked in this position here, reversed in. And she actually knew the owner of that vehicle was Nigel Barwell. And she told us that she saw Mr. Barwell and Thomas O'Reilly, his brother-in-law, here with the vehicle, with the boot open. And subsequently, she told us that she could see an object hanging from the rear of the vehicle. What she then told us was that Nigel Barwell noticed that she was looking from the bedroom window, and she ducked down out of the way, didn't want to be seen. And a few minutes later, when she looked out again, the vehicle had disappeared.
So the witness, Louise Sambrook, is in no doubt that the two people she saw was Nigel Barwell and Thomas O'Reilly.
Absolutely, she knew both of those individuals. In fact, they called her.
So another, there's a witness, so you can say that they weren't in Rugby, that they were in that area on the day that Nicola went missing. What I don't understand is, and with all respect to Mark, because it's an interesting podcast, there's quite a few things that he brings up in this podcast, and I just think, well, how can that be that they've never been, that it's just they're still walking around? So I don't know. It's odd, the whole thing.
Her address on the Friday evening in order to speak to her.
I've carefully read the case file, and they.
I just don't want to be treated any different. I don't want people to feel sorry for me.
You were 7 when
that matched that Freeman tent.
I'm aware.
So now he has a chat with Nicola's son Owen, who's a little baby here on this picture. He has a chat with Owen.
That another young woman from Coventry, Barbara Finn, vanished a few months before Nicola's disappearance. I've carefully read the case file, and they do have some striking similarities. Could they be connected?
Barbara was a sex worker that operated in the Hillfields area of Coventry, the red light district, and she went missing about 6 weeks before Nicola. She went out onto a patch in the evening.
So they talk about Barbara Finn first, who I mentioned earlier, but he will be talking to Owen soon.
She left her daughter with her sister nearby in a house nearby. She came back around 9 or 10 o'clock to check everything was okay, and then went back out onto her patch. And habitually she would finish at about midnight and come home, and she never came home. I reviewed both of those in terms of common people within them, any vehicles that may have been common to both inquiries. There were 2 or 3 people common to each of them, but we explored those, we interviewed them, and their explanations as to why and the reasons why they were in each inquiry were perfectly legitimate, so I have no concerns about that.
During the early days of my investigation, I reached out to Nicola's son, Owen. He was 7 months old at the time she disappeared. I've just heard that he's agreed to give me an interview for the very first time, so I'm on my way to meet him.
Owen, you've never spoken to anybody in the media before. You've never given an interview, but you've agreed to speak to me. Why?
It's just for me nan and my granddad, really. As they get older, it's always been tough, but I can just see it's getting a lot tougher the older they get.
And we've agreed to protect your identity. Why is that?
I just don't want to be treated any different. I don't want people to feel sorry for me.
You were 7 when your mum went. That means I'm assuming you have no actual memories yourself?
No, yeah, like you say, I was 7 months I was. Yeah, so yeah, can't remember a thing now, just from pictures and stuff.
Yeah.
That's about it.
Yeah, so he was robbed of his mum, but it was so sweet when he says he seems so much, it's more I'm worried for my grandma and granddad as they're getting older, it's getting harder and harder. It's such a shame, isn't it?
Do you say you've ever really just sat down and talked about it and talked through what your thoughts are about it?
No, it's never been for me, that sort of thing. People have said about therapy and stuff like that, but it's just not for me, that.
Oh, it's not for you. Right, okay, you can listen to that in full on Mark's podcast. I'm going to fast forward a little bit. I just wanted to give you a bit of him speaking, because we've still got quite a long way to go.
So in a way I do get it, but in a way they need to find a bit of courage and come forward for, like I say, not for myself, but for my nan and for my granddad.
It is very sad and emotional speaking with Owen. I can't for 1 minute begin to imagine what it must be like for him growing up knowing your mum was murdered and her killer or killers are still at large and most likely still living in the community.
Yeah, probably still around. He probably sees them around.
I know he wants answers for his grandparents, but actually we owe him answers and justice too. I'm now on my way to see another witness who was initially spoken to in 1991.
With his brother-in-law. I mean, I never seen him again that day.
So do you see that car again on the Saturday afternoon or evening?
No. It was about 11 o'clock when I seen it.
So just to be entirely clear, on that Saturday morning, you can say with certainty that the Ford Capri was on that driveway and you saw the owner of that Ford Capri cleaning it and taking a car seat out?
Yes, yes.
Joy's evidence contradicts what Barwell and O'Reilly told the police.
But she said about 11, didn't she? About 11. Well, Nicola didn't leave her boyfriend's house until 12 or around about midday. So, I mean, so she's this witness said she saw Nigel Barwell clearing out the car. I mean, not only cleaning it a little bit, but taking everything out and, you know, really giving it a good clean. But she just said then at about 11, that can't be right, can it? Because Nicola didn't leave till 12. And again, to me, I just think, well, why has this not been taken up by the police? If this proves that Nigel Barwell and O'Reilly were there and were not in Rugby, surely, you know, I don't know what the procedure would be with them now. Can they not be tried again? Or can you never be tried again, even if new evidence comes up?
That they were in Rugby all day on the Saturday when Nicola vanished. Joy positively identifies both of them being in Coventry on the Saturday.
And what did you see on the Sunday, so the following day?
He again had the car, he cut everything out, he cleaned the boot inside the car, not just a little wipe, he got the back out and...
Oh, right. So it's the next day when he did the big clean, okay.
And everything. Would have been about 10, 11, definitely before lunch, 10 or 11, yeah.
How would you describe the way that he cleaned that car?
Really thoroughly. I mean, he never used to take the stuff off, his wife never used to take the stuff out. Never seen him with vacuum cleaning it. And everything was just right, even the boot, inside the boot and the car wheels, everything.
So do you see anything else that weekend of notice that you remember now?
He had a caravan, which was part the back of the garages. He also cleaned that out.
So this was a new thing that, you know, Mark didn't know about before. He had a caravan that he cleaned out. So was that where they took Nicola, you know, to do whatever they did to her?
So you actually saw him cleaning the caravan?
I've seen him. My kids used to play on the field and you had to go down the entryway to get to the field. And I was playing football with my girls and everything. And when we come back, I'd seen him cleaning the caravan out.
So when did you notice that caravan had gone?
I think a couple of weeks after that, it had gone.
What a great witness. I mean, no doubt in terms of what she was telling us.
She's totally clear. Her memory, you can tell, can't you? And she's definite that it was that weekend as well.
But what stands out for me is, I've not heard it before, is this cleaning of the caravan.
Yeah.
Have you heard that?
No.
So not only was he cleaning his Capri, but on the same day, he thoroughly cleaned out his caravan. That is important.
So what exactly was the account given by Barwell and O'Reilly?
So Nigel Barwell and Thomas O'Reilly have a very similar account that they gave to police late on Sunday the 15th of December when they were brought in to essentially help with inquiries. And that was this, that there was a pre-arranged meeting with Colin Jones in Rugby. They'd been over to Rugby a month or two before. We had a letter to show that that was an arrangement that was made for the November, but there was no letter to show that that arrangement had been made for the December. In fact, Colin Jones was actually babysitting at a family address on that occasion, so there was no prearranged meeting. But Barbara O'Reilly stated that they went to rugby on the Friday evening. They failed to meet Jones, and they went and had alcohol and smoked cannabis, and that they went back to their car and it wouldn't start. So they claimed to have slept in the car. It was one of the coldest nights of the year, and they claimed to have woken up around midday on the Saturday. Now, this was a very busy Saturday in a very small car park in Rugby Town Centre, which was incredibly busy because of Christmas shopping. And they claimed that they stayed there all day without buying a car park ticket, and eventually they managed to get the car going in the early hours of the Sunday morning, and that they'd then driven back to Coventry and both gone back to their respective addresses.
Well, it sounds like a load of rubbish, doesn't it? If it's a busy car park, you know, on a Saturday running up to Christmas, no, didn't buy a car park ticket. I mean, that does seem like rubbish, that they could stay there all day and not be noticed, or, you know, by the car parking authorities or whatever.
I've read thousands of documents contained within the police files. She thought to herself, he's back from Coventry. When she returned an hour later, the Capri had gone. Another witness who came forward with information apparently implicating Barwell was Paul Southern. He was a potential witness in 1991, but only spoke in detail in 2012. I've tried to talk to him, but he's refused to go on camera. So I've asked Martin Slevin to give me the details of his account.
So Paul Southern told us that on a date in January, not long after Nicola had gone missing, so January 1992 now, he was asked by Barwell and O'Reilly and a friend Colin Jones to drive them to Coventry to Barwell's home address. And he didn't want to, but reluctantly did. And when they got there, they parked near to Nigel Barwell's house in Ventnor Close, near enough so they could hear conversation going on inside the open doorway of the house. Barwell and O'Reilly went inside. And Nigel Barwell's wife essentially accused him of carrying on with a girl from Wood End, and said words to the effect of, "I know you did that, girl from Wood End." When they all got back in the car, there was Paul Southern, Colin Jones, Thomas O'Reilly and Nigel Barwell, and it was stony silence. And Paul Southern broke that silence by saying to Barwell, "Well, come on, who's this girl you've been doing from Wood End?" Nigel Barwell's response was, "I haven't been doing a girl from Wood End. I killed Nicola Payne."
Yeah.
So there you go. He supposedly confessed to one of his friends. So why is that? Was that brought up at the trial? I mean, I'm just a bit sort of bamboozled by the fact if there's so much evidence against Nigel Barwell and O'Reilly, why they weren't found guilty and things like that. So, you know, it's a complete, it's depressing and deflating, isn't it?
And he looked at Colin Jones. Colin Jones nodded in the affirmative. Thomas O'Reilly chipped in. You don't know the half of it.
Martin and his team spent hours thoroughly reviewing all of the case files to identify new evidence.
But it sounds like there's a few people who seem to know about it. Will one day somebody, you know, actually have some human decency and come clean with what's happened to Nicola, just so that her family can at least have a little bit of peace?
The big breakthrough came actually when Louise Sandbrook's statement was analysed. What Louise Sandbrooks was telling us was that, you know, this object she saw at the back of Barwell's Ford Capri that was hanging out was wrapped in something black or dark and shiny, and I thought that might be a starting point. And of course, I sent that off to the laboratory. We recovered upwards of 30 to 40 hairs from that tent, and one hair in particular stood out in that we were able to match that hair to Nicola with a probability of 1 to 900 million.
Just to be clear, in that tent, you find a hair, you do a DNA analysis on that, And the result is that that hair is 900 million to 1 to belong to Nicola.
Yes, absolutely.
So again, so this bit of forensic evidence, and still they were found not guilty. It's a mystery, isn't it? Awful. Wonder why the jury found them not guilty.
Charges. We would never harm a young lady. It never happened. Full stop.
That's what Barwell said. We're innocent. We would never harm a young lady. It never happened. Full stop. That's what Ian Barwell said, apparently.
During O'Reilly's evidence, he broke down in the witness box and said that in 1992, when questioned, a well-built police officer had threatened to do him in. After a 5-week trial, the jury retired to consider a verdict. And after 8 hours of deliberation over 3 days, the jury returned a not guilty verdict. Barwell and O'Reilly walked free from court.
It's a message on behalf of my mum and dad. Our family are devastated and heavy-hearted with today's verdict. For nearly 24 years, we have lived daily in the anguish of not knowing what's happened to our beloved Nicola. And worse than that, to this day, not even knowing where she is.
I just sat there, and when they asked for their verdict, I just eyes closed. When they said not guilty, I just couldn't answer. I just sat there. Madeline wasn't in court, she was in another room upstairs. Gotta get to her. We just sat there hugging each other.
Oh, bless.
Till the police come in and they apologised. I just didn't know how to answer them at the time. You know.
You feel angry?
No justice.
I do know how I feel about the way the case went. We just didn't know what to do.
As a result of the publicity of the trial, a new witness comes forward. Barry, not his real name, he's agreed to meet me at the location where he believes he saw something of significance. This is exclusive, new evidence never revealed publicly before.
Thank you so much for meeting me.
Hello, Mark.
A cold day.
It is.
So this is Coombe Fisheries Car Park.
Yep.
Talk me through and walk me through where you go.
Basically, I've headed into that corner direction.
Yep.
There's a bank here, which was shielded from the actual wood. So I've walked kind of into that diagonal direction,
right,
over the stream, onto the bank.
So let's walk that way.
Okay.
So here is the pathway.
Yeah.
So what were you coming here for on that Saturday?
Basically, I was having a look at it to possibly do some fishing the following day.
Right.
So I came up to have a look basically at the lake and to see if there was anybody up here who could tell me if it was a season ticket or was a day ticket, how you actually go about fishing here.
And you know it was that Saturday that Nicola went missing because of what?
I knew it was 1991. And then later, when I saw that Nicola had gone missing and they appealed for anyone that saw anything strange, I could even remember thinking I saw something strange on that day, but it was nowhere near there.
So you basically realised something was strange around the time, but because of Coombe Park not being right by the black pad, you didn't think they were connected.
I just didn't see a connection at the time.
So let me take you back to that Saturday afternoon as much as you can. You are walking along this path.
Yeah.
Talk me through what you're doing. So what are we at? We're up to post number 6.
Yeah.
The path is beginning to curl round. Talk me through what you're doing and what you hear or see?
You just couldn't see the water at all. It was just...
You couldn't see the water?
No, it was just fog sat on the water.
Okay.
Initially, it sounded like someone was shouting, or a man was shouting at someone else.
Right.
And when I turned, there was two males going along that way, probably about 3 to 5 feet apart at an angle.
Can you describe what they're doing in any way?
Well, the impression I got was the fellow that I saw had his hands out, kind of like that.
Yeah.
Like, the way I saw it at the time, it was like he was sneaking up on something.
Okay.
But there was two moving that way.
And are they saying anything? Are they talking?
Initially, I could hear. It sounded like one was shouting at the other one.
Right.
So this is Coombe Fishery now. It's not so close to the Black Pad where Nicola was last seen. So is this even connected? No, I'm not sure.
But what they were saying, I don't know.
And were they carrying anything? Did they have anything with them?
It was foggy and it was a lot kind of denser then. So I've basically got a quick kind of look at them.
Right.
And I've basically concentrated on the one who had just had his hands out
like that.
I went back to Barry's house to hear the rest of his account.
Went back towards my car after a short period. There was a man stood next to the passenger side of the car. Out the corner of my eye, as I walked past him, there was a man coming out of the wooded area. He come down from the wooded area in between me and my car, and the first thing he said was, "How long have you been here?" I replied, "Around 20 minutes, at which point he said, "Doing what?" I said, "Looking around the lake," and he replied, "What, in the middle of winter?" I replied, "Yes." He then implied that I'd been watching what they were doing in the woods, which I didn't. He then carried on asking me several things along the same lines, and at that one point turned to his friend and said, "Help me." His friend just replied, "Let's just go." We then got near my car and he's walked past my car towards the gate. I've got in my car, started it, and as I drove out the gate, he was fumbling with the chain, basically trying to shut the gate. Drove past him to the end of the drive, and as I gave way at the end of the drive, he's ran up the drive. I then drove away.
It was the court case that caused Barry to come forward. He can't be certain that the two men he saw on the Saturday were...
Yeah, so, you know, anyway, nothing can be proved with that. I don't know why that other, you know, anyway, I don't know. But that's what's led to the searches of Coombe's Fishery, and this is where Peter Folding comes in.
Barwell and O'Reilly, but he does think it is significant. As a direct result of this new information, I have called in my friend and search expert, Peter Folding, to examine
His friend and search expert, Peter Folding. Now, I want to say here that apparently neither Mark or Peter, as they always say, they don't charge. I suppose, I don't know, it's the publicity or, you know, with the best will in the world, you know, even if Mark does want to help the families and Peter does, you've still got to, you know, your time and effort and everything. There's got to be some reward somewhere along the line, which is probably publicity and media coverage and things like that. But here comes Peter now, super sonar.
in this new identified area at Coombe Abbey. Peter and his team are the country's leading authority in the search for human bodies and remains.
Of course they're the leading authority in the search for human bodies and remains, according to Mark.
And are regularly deployed by the police.
Not anymore.
The purpose of today's search is we are looking for Nicola Payne. Nicola Payne was aged 18 when she went missing December 1991.
We have a vast array of equipment available to us this week for the search: side scan sonar, magnetometry, ground penetrating radar.
And what I want to point out particularly is the clothing that we know Nicola was wearing when she went missing, and that is the brown jacket, the brown trousers, the purple shirt, and importantly, 2 items of jewellery and the brown shoes. In addition, there may well be a pink blanket and possibly a ground sheet from a tent.
as Mark said, we're going to be searching this area of woodland and the lake. Sonar team, Stuart, you're with me, and Steve, you're taking the helm. Tony, Barney, you run the dive team, and they've got the divers ready to go.
Absolutely.
So there I'm the dive supervisor, and I've got a diver in the water, and he's in nil visibility.
So stage.
So not only is the water brown and the visibility is reduced to probably 6 inches, once he's actually searching through the silt, which is in places 12 inches to armpit depth, it's black and it's churned up. His visibility is absolutely zero. So at that stage, the diver will be diving most likely with his eyes closed so he can concentrate on touch.
In the meantime, I've found a new witness named Martin Strong in the police case files who I want to visit.
Sorry, so I just want to say, you know, I'm not sniffing up at what, being sniffy about what Peter did or didn't do. If Peter finds Nicola or anyone, you know, any help in these sort of cases, you know, my only resentment with Peter is for the way he treated the Nicola Bully case and the lies that he told, in my view, about finding Nicola. You know, and he's not commented on that still now. Here we are in September. He didn't go to America and get the images verified. He didn't write to the bloody Prime Minister, etc. Or, you know, so that's my resentment towards Peter. If at some point Peter in his searches here for Nicola or Mark the same, you know, if they can bring publicity to the case and if as a result Nicola's family gets some peace, I'll be all for that and I'll be the first to praise them. My only resentment with Peter is, as I say, with Mark it's the Oscar Pistorius thing and with Peter it's the Nicola Bully thing.
Strong initially spoke to the police in 91-92, giving both Barwell and O'Reilly an alibi that they were in Rugby on Saturday the 14th of December. But when re-interviewed into...
Literally there where the suspects were last seen. So he's looking around and he's found a pile of sort of shoes. This particular one, brown leather, the last thing.
So these are Peter's findings or his team's findings. They found a pile of shoes.
Nicola was seen was wearing a pair of brown leather boots. Here somewhere there's a sole. Don't want to move too much.
It's quite a strange collection. So you've got a collection of shoes,
yeah,
but then you've got pink nail varnish.
Yeah, that's right.
Roll-on deodorant, or I don't know, something like that.
Looks like
a roll-on.
That looks like a roll-on.
And look, this is clearly a hairbrush. The base of a hairbrush,
and a toothbrush over there as well. This looks like a lady's stocking here or a pair of tights, but this is clearly years old.
Yeah, I mean, I'm more steered towards someone having pulled them together, cleared up. Yeah, just someone just tied it up and then chucked it all there. Let's properly plot it and everything, and then
absolutely, we've got.
I think it's good. Fine, well done. I mean, it shouldn't be here.
Yeah,
and it's got items which, you know, we're looking for a murder victim who's a female. Yeah. We've got female shoes, hairbrush,
toothbrush,
deodorant.
Yeah, small toothbrush.
Nail varnish.
Small toothbrush.
This is old.
Leather doesn't degrade that.
No.
No.
And a stocking. I wonder if she was wearing a stocking.
Serial killers. What serial killers?
My presence in Coventry is attractive.
I doubt very much she was wearing a stocking. I think she had jeans on, didn't she? No, Mark, no offence, but you don't, well, maybe some of you ladies out there may say differently, but in my experience, you don't wear a stocking with jeans or trousers. You wear stockings with dresses and skirts. But anyway, there you go. Maybe she was wearing a stocking. Who knows? Anyway, I'm gathering that this didn't come to anything because nothing. You know, there's been, but maybe it did. Maybe the police are working on it. I don't know.
In considerable media attention, and as a result, I've been contacted by a woman who believes she has information about the whereabouts of Nicola.
So a very strange night. We met this woman who basically says that she knows where Nicola Payne is. And she came and met us here. And her explanation is simply that she has a piece of technology. It's so top secret and it can find dead people.
Oh, this is a load of rubbish. So you can listen to it on Mark's podcast if you like, but I'm not. I don't think it's relevant. But so then this more. I don't know if it's this woman. Let me just fast forward it.
At Harbour Magna.
I mean, this is really significant, and this now gives me the opportunity to go and look at that area. And
yeah, that was a more significant interview with somebody who supposedly knew Barwell, and Barwell actually said, in fact, yeah, we'll listen to that because that was more. Let's see.
Barwell mentioned something about the canal at Harbour Magna. He was saying that they didn't mean to kill Nicola Payne. It was an accident, but nobody would believe them because it was either they were known to the police in that area or they were known to people in that area. But, and then he was talking something about over a canal bridge at Harbour Magna, and I got the impression that they dumped Nicola Payne's body in the canal from the bridge at Harbour Magna.
So that sounds plausible, doesn't it? So this led to more sonar searches.
I mean, this is really significant, and this now gives me the opportunity to go and look at that area and potentially see if it's somewhere we can search to find Nicola. But what your memory has come back as, it could be the final solution to find. So, looking here now, you think, okay, it was a foggy day, so maybe you couldn't see that far, but you'd still have a good line of sight to the right and to the left, wouldn't you?
Yeah, it's perfect, isn't it? If you want to do something out of sight. So how far away now are we from Coventry and Rugby?
Well, Coventry is about 8.5 miles that way, and then Rugby is about 3 miles this way. So you can imagine this is in between. And don't forget, on that day, there was a frost in the ground, so it was quite hard. You could get the top surface off, but digging deep would have been really difficult. So how does you get rid of a body really quickly without digging? Well, one option is in the water.
Peter Fording will now liaise with West Midlands police detectives and use his team to search the large identified area, which is going to be a massive job.
We're here acting on information received about a possible location for Nicola Payne. Nicola Payne went missing in 1991 and we haven't given up our search for her.
So Sam, what is your role in West Midlands Police?
So my current role is the head of the homicide department for West Midlands Police.
And today starts an operation in terms of looking for, in simple terms, Nicola Payne's body. What is the plan?
So as we know, Nicola Payne has been missing 29 years now. And acting on new information received in the last couple of weeks, we're going to search the canal area with specialist teams, Peter Fording and his team, to hopefully find Nicola for her family.
So Sam, this is quite an important piece of information that you're acting upon now.
Yes, so the information has come to light in the last couple of weeks, and clearly looking at other investigative opportunities that we've had in the past, linking it up to all the information we know, we consider it of importance such that we are deploying the search teams to look into this information. So yes, it could be a breakthrough, and we all hope for Nicola's family there absolutely is.
And you've never searched this area before, have you?
No, this hasn't featured on any of our previous searches. We have searched a number of locations previously, including areas of water, but not this area.
And just talk me through, so you have a specialist individual called a pulser, so they're involved in looking at the scene and assessing how that fits potentially within the information that you know and the crime. How does that work?
So we have specialist search advisors called our pulser search teams, and
basically nothing was found. I'm just going to fast forward because it's quite interesting what comes at the end of the podcast, where Mark does confront O'Reilly and Barwell, the two men that were charged but acquitted of Nicola's murder. So I'm going to fast forward a bit to that. I think you get the idea of what's going on here. Peter Fording's got involved. You know, obviously they had some closer ties with the police then, not so much now, do they? Not so much now.
Hello, Mr. O'Reilly.
So this is where Mark confronts Mr. Riley, O'Reilly actually his name is, who was one of the, let's just have a look at, so O'Reilly is the one with the beard here, and this is Barwell, these are the artist impressions of them. So we're going to listen to him doorstepping Mr. O'Reilly.
Mark Williams Thomas. I'm doing a reinvestigation into the murder of Nicola Payne. No, hang on, just hear me. All I want to know is where Nicola's buried, all right?
I don't know where she is, and I don't know anything about it.
All right. I'm just giving you a lifeline. All I want to do is find Nicola, all right?
I haven't got a clue where she is. I don't know anything about anything.
Okay, well, you've got my details, all right?
O'Reilly is insisting he's got nothing to do with the disappearance of Nicola. So now let's go and see what Barwell has to say.
So plan is to...
Now this one, I actually have the video because he did a TikTok video, so we'll watch this one.
Plan is to doorstep Nigel Barwell. The reason we're doing that is we want to put to him, obviously, the information that we've got, and I'll put certain questions to him and obviously give him the opportunity to respond. Nigel Barwell, Mark Williams Thomas, you obviously know who I am. Nigel, I want to talk to you about the disappearance of Nicola Payne and what you were doing on Saturday, the 14th of November. You claim to be in rugby, but you know that's not true, don't you? Nigel, just talk to me. Come on. You haven't talked. You've never given an interview. This is your opportunity to say what you want to say. You can deny it. Deny it to me. Just talk to me. So what were you doing on that Saturday? Because I've got information, witnesses who know you and knew you at the time, and they said that you were actually in Coventry. You weren't in rugby. They also know that you were at the cook's house on that morning. That's true, isn't it? Come on, Nigel Barwell, talk to me. And what about this audio recording I've got of you phoning up about the disappearance of Barbara Finn? Mr. Barwell, come on. Barbara Finn, do you know all about that? Why did you phone the police and make a 999 call about Barbara Finn? Come on, talk to me. Yeah, why did you do that? Why did you? You're gonna say, don't shut the door on me. Go on, talk to me. Nigel, talk to me. Come on. Go on, talk to me. Nigel, talk to me. Come on. Come on, let's talk to me. Come on, talk to me. You're not going to talk to me? Well, that was a real shame. I gave Nigel Barwell the opportunity. There's a lot of evidence against him in relation to the disappearance of Nicola Payne. I just wanted him to tell me that on that Saturday, he was, as he claims to be, in rugby. We've got compelling evidence from witnesses who say, actually, he was in Coventry, and they know him with his capri on that morning. It's a real shame. He had an opportunity to deny it all. Didn't want to talk to him.
Yeah, so he nearly ended up getting shut in the car door then. No, and all credit to him. He went and faced up O'Reilly and Barwell. Shame he didn't do that with Jimmy Savile or Mohammed Al Fayed or anybody else. But of course they've all got money, so they'd probably sue him. That's why he didn't do it. Waited till they were deceased. He's probably thinking that Nigel Barwell hasn't got any money, so can't sue him. So, but interesting, and it gives us an insight. I'm not trying to take away from Mark's podcast. I think these are good podcasts. You'll let me know what you think in comments. Will Nigel Barwell or O'Reilly ever tell? Did they do it, or was it? To me, there's three scenarios here. So you've got this scenario that is these pair, and that is borne out by forensic evidence as far as the tent is concerned. Or it was David Judge knocking her over by accident, and then his family helping him cover it up. Is that likely? Or, of course, it was Nicola's boyfriend and his family covering it up. Or maybe it's someone completely unrelated. Maybe it was Peter Tobin, or maybe it was the Midlands Ripper. It is a pure mystery from what we know. Now, whether the police, as I say, whatever we know, whatever's been released, and even what's been released to Mark Williams, Thomas, the police will have more. So
will we ever find out?
Doorstep, Nigel Barwell. He's just round the corner. He's in a shop at the moment, so we're going to wait for
we
would
wanted
know, that I
to
would
get on
know.
the video, didn't we? So there, I think maybe now you can see. Let me put the picture of Nicola back up. Maybe now you can see how I ended up going down this rabbit hole, and I decided, you know, I can't do this video along with the other cases of the other two girls. They all deserve their own videos, don't they? And Nicola deserved her storytelling properly, not just quickly. So I wanted to explore all the different avenues, and well, as many as possible. I mean, it's, you know, there'll be things that I haven't covered, I'm sure, but I've tried to cover it as, you know, do a deep dive as possible. So, do you know anything about Nicola Payne? Can you help her family get some answers? Now, if you do have any information, you should phone 101, contact the homicide team. Apparently, you can go on westmidlandspolice.uk and use live chat, or you can call Crime Stoppers anonymously. And I would just say to anyone who knows anything, did anything, you took Nicola from her son and her family then. They've lost 30 years of being with her. Give them her now. So at least for the last years of their lives, as far as her father's concerned, and her son hopefully has got many years to have somewhere where he can go and know that his mum is there, not just sort of discarded somewhere. I mean, this is just a horrible thought for families. So let Nicola's son have his mum back for at least for the second half of his life. You've taken her away for the first half of his life. And if for nothing else, do it for your own selfish reasons. Think about what's coming for you. Judgment Day. Judgment Day is coming for you. Whoever did whatever they did to Nicola, if they're still on this planet, on this earth, they've got to, they won't be on it forever. They'll be meeting their maker. You'll have to account for their actions. You can redeem yourself at least a little bit.
So there you go. That is the very, very, very sad story of Nicola Payne. The reason why I'm replaying this video is because on their Facebook page yesterday, the family of Nicola have said that they're going to remove the Facebook page in January on her birthday. And so after that, there will be no Facebook page asking for information. It must have been a very difficult decision, a very sad decision, but I think, you know, it's right because they've got to move on with their lives. It's still not beyond the realms of possibility that someone somewhere will come out and say what happened to Nicola. And the most important thing you saw in that video, for her brothers, for her son, they don't care now about, it's not about a criminal conviction. They just want to know where Nicola's remains are so that they can bury her in a respectful way. So if anybody out there knows anything, please, please, please find it in your heart, you know, to speak up, even if it's anonymously. Let them find this girl, bring her back, give her a dignified burial or cremation or whatever they decide to do. You know, everybody deserves that, even in, you know, remote societies, tribal societies, primitive societies. There's a rite of passage. When somebody dies, they're shown respect. And Nicola has not been shown that respect because nobody even knows where she is. Okay, so I'm off now. I'm going to eat some crisps properly without worrying that they're going to make a noise. Me and my dogs, we've been sneaking a few crisps here and there, but you've probably heard it. I have come to realise that you cannot eat crisps without making any noise. Anyway, thank you for being here. Thank you for caring about Nicola. You know, all the cases we cover, they're not people that we know. And sometimes they're cases from a long time ago, like Nicola. But it's still important that we care about them. And their families care about them, but it's important we care about them as well. So thank you so much. I'll see you really soon in the next video. And until then, may you, sorry, I'm just looking at what Laurie's saying here. I'll see you really soon in the next video. And until then, may your God go with you. And, you know, thank you so much for watching. Please think about subscribing if you're not subscribed. And remember to leave your DNA on the like button. Thank you. Bye.